So today we are going to begin with a new chapter, that is reproductive endocrinology. This is basically your physiology, which we are going to revise it again. So this reproductive endocrinology, it's a study of the hormones, okay? The study of the hormones and their effects on the reproductive tissues. So these tissues, whatever are there, they basically involve your hypothalamus, anterior pituitary gland, ovaries, endometrium, and placenta. So, what is the hormone? The hormone it's a cell product. Okay? It's a cell product which is secreted into the peripheral circulation, and it affects will be on a distinct target tissues. So this is what we call it as a endocrine secretion. So we have different types of hormones based on this action. That is your paracrine, autocrine, and intracrine. Paracrine is the one where the cells will be the hormone will be secreted by one cell, and its action will be on the other cell, neighboring cells. Okay, between cells. Autocrine is the hormone secreted by one cell, and action will be on the same cell. Okay, and your intracrine is action will be on the same cell, but it will be before the secretion of the hormone. That is your intracrine. Now we'll see what is neurotransmitter. See, this is whatever the substance we call as neurotransmitter, they pass through the extracellular space through a neural pathway, and they act on the synaptic junction. This extracellular space is called as your synaptic junction, and later they bind to the dendrites of the second neuron, and their action will be on the dendrites of the second neuron. So this is what I'm showing here. This is a cell, this is a dendrite of one cell. These are the neurotransmitter released from one cell, passes through extracellular space, that is your synapse, and acts on these dendrites where the receptors are present, and they exhibit their actions in this cell. Okay, the other thing is that these neurotransmitters, they can be passed through released through a blood circulation vascular system, and they are transported to a other tissue, okay, where they are going to act. This process is known as your neuroendocrine secretion or neuroendocrine signaling. Example of certain such signaling is your one such hormone is your gonadotropin releasing hormone, which is secreted by the hypothalamus and passes through the portal vasculature and affects the gonadotropes within your anterior pituitary gland. So for this reproductive function, we need a proper hormone at a certain level where they act on the certain specific receptors. What we call as Hypothalamic-Pituitary-Gonadal axis should be intact. So what is this hypothalamus does? Hypothalamus is going to release your gonadotropin releasing hormone, which passes through the portal vasculature, reaches your anterior pituitary, and in the anterior pituitary acts on the gonadotropins and leads to release of these gonadotropins like your LH and FSH. These LH and FSH goes and binds to theca cells and granulosa cells in the ovary and exhibit their functions. These functions could be folliculogenesis, ovarian hormonal steroid hormones production, and gonadal peptides production, such as your activin, inhibin, and follistatin, and also production of growth hormones. So they also have certain inhibitory effect on this hypothalamus and pituitary gland, and they lead to negative feedback and thus decrease the hormone production. And also they help in this preparing your endometrium for the placental implantation and placentation for the if woman is pregnant. So now let's start with the hormone biosynthesis and mechanism of action. So see, these hormones, no, they can be divided as steroid hormones broadly, okay, and peptide hormones. And the receptors on which these hormones act can be broadly divided as intracellular and extracellular. See, intracellular means it has to cross the cell membrane. The cell membrane has lipid molecules. So this hormone has to be lipophilic if it is acting intracellularly. Extracellular means it need not be lipophilic because it need not cross the cell membrane barrier. So it can just be hydrophilic or water soluble. So these hormones goes and binds to the receptors present on the cell surface or inside the cell and exhibits their actions. Okay. So these receptors, they are very much specific for certain hormones. They can't go and act on any receptor. Now let's see the peptide hormones. Which are those peptide hormones? Broadly, these peptide hormones are of three. That is your LH, FSH and HCG. So we know LH and FSH is secreted by gonadotroph of anterior pituitary. Okay. So what is the action of this LH and FSH? I have already told you they help in follicular development, steroidogenesis, and helps in ovulation. So this HCG, it's not secreted by your anterior pituitary. It is produced by your placental trophoblast. Okay. This is very much important for your pregnancy maintenance as well. So this LH, FSH and HCG, all of them have alpha subunit plus beta subunit. Now tell me, which is the functional specific unit in alpha and beta? The functional specific is your beta subunit. Most of them can have same alpha subunit. Understood? So this measurement of these hormone levels will tell us if there is any pituitary adenomas, or if you want to diagnose pregnancy, you can measure the level of these hormones. Okay. So this beta functional specific means they are basically coded by different separate genes, coded by your separate genes on both your LH and HCG. Okay. So how to differentiate this beta subunit of HCG has extra 24 amino acids compared to your LH. Okay, the presence of this 24 extra amino acids makes it specific to the beta HCG. Now there is a similarity between your TSH and HCG as well. So how is this similarity is maintained? See, the thyrotrophic beta subunit is specific to TSH and beta subunit of HCG is specific to HCG. So both these will have same alpha, but the beta subunit is different. That is why in molar pregnancy what happens, there is increased HCG. This increased HCG can have effects like TSH as well. Understood? Now we'll talk about HCG separately. See, HCG I have already told you, it is a glycosylated peptide which is secreted by your placental trophoblast. So initially this HCG level increases and reaches the peak by 10 weeks and then it start declining. So this HCG can be detected after 7 to 10 days of your LH. This is early when you can detect the beta HCG levels. Okay, and if it is a intrauterine pregnancy, this beta HCG is going to double every 2 days. Understood? If it is a declining or a miscarriage or abortion, it is going to decrease. Understood? So it can reach up to 1 lakh in the first trimester and then it can decline in your second trimester. This HCG can bind to LH and beta HCG receptors. So that is why after ovulation what happens, there is a formation of corpus luteum. Okay. This corpus luteum will be maintained by your beta HCG by binding to the LH receptor because of similarity. Okay, this binds to the receptor and maintains the corpus luteum until your placenta takes over the function of the corpus luteum. Understood? So this also helps in your maintaining endometrial integrity and uterine quiescence. Okay, so whatever this shift, what we call as luteal placental shift, that means the function of the ovary is taken over by the placenta, that is known as your luteal placental shift. Okay, see this now we'll see when the HCG can increase. When the HCG can increase, whenever there is increased placental tissue. Where there will be increased placental tissue, it will be high in multifetal gestation, like your twins or triplets, or can be in molar pregnancy, also in babies with Down's syndrome. When there can be decreased beta HCG levels, this can be seen in ectopic pregnancy or whenever there is a placental abnormality. In such abnormality, in such conditions, we see there is a decreased beta HCG level, also in your abortions as well. So that is why what we do is we measure beta HCG serially. This serial measurement helps in knowing what kind of pregnancy it is. Either it is a viable intrauterine or abortion or ectopic pregnancy. Okay, so these are the conditions where we see the rise and the fall. And here this beta HCG can also be seen in certain germ cell tumors. Okay, and also from certain tumors of your cervix, bladder, GIT and lungs as well. So what this beta HCG does in certain tumors is it is going to inhibit apoptosis, and that's how it maintains the growth of these tumor cells. Okay, so I had told you this HCG is secreted by the placental trophoblast, but there are certain cell types where the HCG can also be produced and has several other functions as well. Example, this cytotrophoblast, they secrete hyperglycosylated variant of this HCG. This can be a sensitive marker for pregnancy, early pregnancy. Okay, and this pituitary also makes small amounts of HCG. So that is why in postmenopause what happens, there is rise in gonadotrophin secretion from pituitary, and in that situation even there can be rise in HCG level. This is just a variant form. Okay, this is about your peptide hormone.